Hi everybody, this is Dr. Fang-Mei Law from Tiffin University. So this is a lecture actually should be the information provide for my student to show you, to explain to you how to write your research paper. Okay, I know a lot of you start to ask me question, how do I do my 20 pages of research paper? So I'm going to go step by step with you. Hopefully this explanation will help you out. And please don't be panic. A lot of them say, it's how do I write 20 pages paper? Okay, after my explanation, you will know 20 page is not that hard, okay? And because it's a scientific research paper, so make sure you have to follow the step. Oh, just because you finish 20 pages, it's not mean you finish the paper. You make sure you cover every step, okay? You need to cover, okay? So I have a PowerPoint. You have a PowerPoint in your Moodle, okay? So we've needed, I will turn my screen back to the PowerPoint. Otherwise, I will spend more time explain to you, okay? So how do you write the research paper? Okay, the first thing you have to write, okay? The first thing you have to write, let me show you my screen, okay? It's called abstract, okay? So when you write the abstract, okay, so you can see here, they tell you something you have to cover. So you have to cover the purpose of the study, and then you need to tell me the basic design. You need to tell me the number of participants, and then tell me the major findings, and then tell me a major, the brief summary of your interpretation and conclusion. Okay, so your purpose, your design, okay, and so what's this mean? What's this mean? So you will, if you read other article, you may see quite often their abstract start with the purpose of your study. So that is that's a good way to start it, okay? Then also why we say the best design. So I know a lot of you use survey, so you can just say you use survey design, okay? Then you need to tell in the paper you have to write how many participants, okay? Then important, you need to show your findings. Then a show conclusion. Quite often I find the student, they give to me, they treat this abstract as introduction. It's not introduction, it's abstract, the abstract of your whole paper, okay? Also, keep in mind, just because they show in the first part of your research paper, it's not mean you should write first, because chances are you don't really know the whole thing yet in your paper, okay? If you know before you start to write it, then you can start from here. But if you are, writing in the, as you make progress in your research project, then you should write the last. And also for this section, please don't give me the future tense, okay? So this is mean your research already done, so you should use the past tense, okay? Mean you finish, okay? So please be careful. And also, just because you have been submit assignment 3, that's called abstract, please don't just copy paste that part to here, because they are different story. When you wrote that time, it's like proposal. You say you will. Now, when you get here right now, you don't no longer will, because you already done. Okay, so that is when I, you have your cover page. Okay, then when I open, turn on your, you start to read your paper, I will see abstract. Okay, but make sure you have the complete idea. And I just asked about 100 words, and then you can count this as one page, so don't worry too much, even just one page, only 100 words. But if you write more than 100 words, you won't get panic, okay? Then after your abstract, you write keywords, and keywords pretty much like your title, right? Those variables you can put there, okay? So that is called abstract. Then you start in your paper, okay? So here, okay, you will see here, I say for your introduction section, that's 30 points there. So you are including your statement of the problem, okay, 5 points, literature review, 20 points, overview your present study, and also I want to see your research questions and hypothesis here. Okay, so for the statement of the problem, okay, so you will see here, I have a explanation here. So then that means the introduction leads the reader from a general subject area to particular topic of inquiry. It establishes the scope and content and significance of the research being conducted by summarizing current understanding and background information about the topic, stating the purpose of the work. Okay, so that is mean. Okay, so think about if you go to listen a lecture, okay, the speaker usually starting a presentation with a bigger general statement, okay, and so that is part of your research paper in this part. So you can find some statistic, okay, that'll be very good, some statistical information related to your topic, okay, and you can use that. For example, if you research about gun control, then you can talk about how severe this gun control issue, in the United States, and then why is that? So you give the reader some idea, what are you trying to do? Okay, so the purpose of your study, that'll be very important statement. So you give us a bigger picture, and then you say, okay, because the issue like this, okay, and then unfortunately a lot of people don't understand this, and of course you may have a statistics show how much people agree or disagree with this, use gun control as example, how many people agree and disagree, and then how agree maybe affects something and disagree maybe affects something, okay? So you give a general picture, then you say, therefore, the purpose of your study is this. Okay, so this called the statement of the problem. Then it's 5 points. And also another place you can see how much you have to write. You can see how many points I designate. So if you get 5 points, if you see 5 points, then something around a page should be enough. Okay. But then the next one I call literature review. Let me show the PowerPoint for you. Okay, so you will see here, the next part is called literature review. Okay, so you see here will be 20 points here. Okay, so you can see for this one, you pretty much based on the 10 peer-reviewed articles that you collect, and then you conduct the literature review section, okay? Then you introduce the idea about what's going on for the topic, okay? Then step by step, you tell people more detail about those information, okay? So for this section, because it's 20 points, so you will need to write down, if you say 5 points, maybe 1 page, then 20 points, at least you need to spend about 4 pages. Okay, some of you maybe you want to write longer, it's fine, okay? Then also, when you write literature review, I also like you to have a subtitle, okay? So for example, let's go back to our gun control as an example. So maybe you have the first session talk about, maybe you call what? The definition of gun control, okay? Then the second session will be, the review, the law of gun control, okay? Then the third session may be, since a lot of you, all of you actually, your participants is college student. So you may want to review how about how college student from your article, if you find something like that, how do they view about gun control, okay? Then further, you have a section, if you in your research data analysis, you want to compare the gender different, then you may want to have a session talk about the gender different view about gun control. Or if you are going to try to see how student major in criminal justice versus non-criminal justice, their different view about gun control, then you may want to have a session about how education background can affect people's point of view about gun control. Okay, does it make sense? So you should I encourage you, don't just give me on and on and on for 4 pages, that'll be like, it will be very hard for me to see through your point of view. But if you're a section, okay, you divide, like as I just said, maybe the first session called definition, the second session say overview about this issue, then their law, how do they establish, and then the gender point of view, and then the student, the major point of view, all this. And feel free, because you collect those 10 articles, okay? The 10 articles should give you a good idea about the overall picture, and you want to put them in a good way for us to follow, okay? Now, some of you remember when we do the literature review PowerPoint and bibliography, I just have you write down each article and then the abstract, and each article and abstract. I don't think that's a good way to present in the literature review. I want you to mingle, integrate all your data, your article together, because you may have 2 articles, they are talk about similar issue. Then you can put them together and then, come out a subtitle. And then you have other 3 articles, maybe they talk about another issue. Anyway, just use the vegetable as example. I don't want you give me carrot here and cucumber here and tomato here. I want you to cook them, become different dishes. And so in each subtitle, they should have something why you put this article together, and you should have some reason, not just because they publish an article. So then that is a section. Now, unless you have very good reason, you say that is how you divide. Otherwise, I want you to, use your idea, put all your article together and make them into the subtitle. Does that make sense? And also another way to think about, if you look at your research topic, okay? So your research topic, each variable there, you should have a section you talk about in your literature review. Okay, so you have a literature review for one variable, okay? For example, you talk about, some people talk about the college student stress, okay? So you want to talk about, what's going on for college student, okay? Then talk about what means stress, right? Then you maybe talk about college stress and depression. Then you have another session called college student depression. And then if you are research about how college students, their stress and depression affect their learning outcome, then you may have a last session, put this together, say how stress, depression relate to outcome. Okay, so I'm going to, in your Moodle, I'm going to show you one of my research paper, and then you can see how I did my literature review. Okay, that makes sense? Okay, so these are 20 points, okay? And at least you need to give me 4 pages, okay? That makes sense? Okay, the next one, so after you review this, okay, then you will have the session, let me show you. Okay, called overview the present study. Okay, so this will be you, because you already reviewed everybody's research. Okay, so now you have to put them back to you. Okay, so you have to study the purpose of your your research. Okay, so you have been reviewed that. Okay, and then so say how do you going to conduct your research. Then give the highlight, what do you want to do, and then important is you need to have the hypothesis research question. Okay, so when I read your paper, so then you will give me the problem statement, right? You will say, hey, that's an issue like this, and then you start use your 10 article to teach me, to educate me what is your idea. Okay, what is, as I said just before, what it mean stress, and what mean depression, and what's going on for college students stress, what's going on for college student depression, and then what's going on for college students stress, depression influence their learning outcome. Okay, so this is from other people's research. So this is, I don't want to see any of your idea here yet. Okay, however, when you come to the overview of present study, now it's your idea. You start to tell me based on the review you have. Now bring down yourself. Okay, so what do you want to know? Okay, so your research question. So when I say research question, it's not mean your survey question. Okay, it's just bigger question. For example, if I use this college student, I will say the purpose of this research is to answer the concern of how college student depressed and stress influence their learning outcome. So it's pretty much like your research title, but then you turn into the question. That makes sense? Okay, and then from your research question, then you come out your hypothesis. Okay, so when you see when you start to do the hypothesis, I think by now you should already see the video. Then I recall for the hypothesis testing, right? And then each time I show you how to write the hypothesis. And so the hypothesis here is that the same as the hypothesis I show you there. So for example, if I talk about the college student stress, then maybe your hypothesis, each one you would have a set called non-hypothesis and research hypothesis. Okay, so non-hypothesis that will say, for example, maybe I want to say that there will be no significant difference of stress level between male and female. Then my research hypothesis will be there is a significant difference of stress level between male and female. Okay, so maybe that's my first hypothesis. My second hypothesis maybe will be there is no significant difference of depression level between male and female, and then there'll be no significant difference between of the depression between male and female. Does that make sense? And then maybe my final one will be there'll be significant correlation between stress and learning outcome, and then there's not and there's is, right? So you can see that each of them you have a set. Each of them have set, and you can test as many as you can. Okay, I show you 4 type of statistic. Okay, so you can test all of them. Okay, however, everything you say here, I will expect to see them in your data analysis part, your result section. Okay, you don't want to say something here, but you didn't do, when you do the result. Make sure they are consistent. And of course, when you are writing, maybe you don't know what are you going to do. So when you finish, make sure you come back if something you promised you are going to do here, but you didn't do the end because you just run out your time or you don't feel like do it, and come back to read delete that part of hypothesis. Okay, makes sense? So here that's called this actually is 5 point, but I want to see you a little bit summary about your literature review, just a little bit, and bring into your own, and say the purpose of your study is to answer question of this, right? And then so your hypothesis is this. Okay, and then you can talk a little bit about, you are going to use survey and then conduct data. A little bit that, because next session you will talk about more detail, but you can lead the reader to get to the next session just a little bit. Okay, so that's 5 points there. Okay, so it's clear. So now up to here, I say you have 5 points for abstract, right? Then you have a 30 points from this introduction. Introduction include 3 parts, right? One is called problem statement, and it's 5 points. Okay, the second one called literature review. It's 20 points. That one is a lot of point there. And then the last one for this session is called overview of the present study. That good? Okay, so then after this, so then you got what? You got 35 points already. Okay, now